welcome.
Good morning.
To another edition. Hold on a second. Hold on over there. That's better.
Oh my.
Hello and welcome.
Good morning, guys.
To another edition of the Morning Cup. Page Arizona's morning show. Morning. The show is for entertainment purposes only. Yes. And brought to you by the Page Hospital.
Yes.
Big shout out to them for sponsoring the morning show. Don't
Thank
forget,
you.
guys, there is voting coming up in November.
Yes.
A mail-in ballot that's
Yes.
coming in October.
Yes.
That you have to do in November. And they would like us to inform you about Proposition 431. What are you laughing at? It's not even funny yet.
It's just your announcing voice today.
Oh, well, that's because my brain's fried.
It's
man.
your Monday announcer.
It is. So this is for you guys from the Page Hospital. Oh, hold on, I gotta find the button. There's the button.
Oh boy.
All right, there we go. Shh, let it happen. All right, so there is the commercial for this morning. Don't forget, guys, there is election stuff's happening soon.
Yes.
And they are sponsoring the show, so what?
Well, for us, more just voting, not election.
Well, whatever, man. You know what we're talking about here. What's going on over there? And thanks, guys, for being here. Thank you for liking, commenting, and sharing.
Yes.
On all of these videos.
Thank
Now,
you.
time to catch up on the comments.
Yes.
Sarah says, good morning from the Black family. Madison says, hi, too. Hi.
Hello.
Good to see you. John says, love me some morning coffee with Chris. This is becoming a habit. Good morning, brother. Good morning.
Woo-hoo.
Good to
morning.
see you. Thanks for joining us. And Debbie says, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And John says, and good morning, Lois.
Oh, and good morning. I missed that part.
Good
My
morning.
eyes got some fuzz, man. Oh,
Fuzz is not even a word for it.
I don't even know. We've been doing some yard work over the last couple of days, and my allergies is killing me.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna make it. It just is beating me down.
Yeah, and real quick, you missed this one. Good. Renee says, "Good morning, hello, Lois.
Good morning.
Good morning,
And hello.
oh boy, channeling your inner Mrs. Doubtfire.
Well, yeah, that's actually not where I was going with that one, but that was more of a Monty Python thing.
Oh boy, it could be many.
Do you float?
Oh, good Lord.
What?
Really? Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't.
So you're an on again, off again witch, is what you're saying.
There you are.
All right. Burner! None shall pass.
Oh, no.
What? My head's doing one of its things today, guys.
It is.
I don't even know. I don't even know. Are we as jerky on the real thing as we are on
No,
that
I
thing?
don't think so.
All right, I'm just looking over here. Oh, man, I
Y'all
look
see
like
him squinting,
crap.
right?
That's because I need a bigger monitor. Well, I look at the bigger monitor over there, and I'm like this. So I can't really hear what's going on.
Oh, no. Ah!
What?
Oh, my hair has attacked me.
Your hair is like a virus, man. It invades everything.
It does. I'm not gonna lie. It does.
But yeah, I couldn't quite tell what was happening over there.
No, we're good over here.
Okay, all right. Because the internet says it's doing good, but it's sucking over there, so I'm not sure.
I don't even pay attention to that one.
Yeah, it's because you can't see it.
No,
I have it
even
blocked so you
when
can't
I
look.
could see it, even when I could see it, that's a nutty Facebook thing.
Well, yeah, but it's kind of important because we're running a show, so I have to see what the heck is going on.
I realize that, but if
it
wasn't as buggy as it is, it would be helpful, and I wouldn't ignore it.
It's Facebook. They ain't gonna fix buggy. That's not how that works, man. Renee says, nope, steady on this end. Yay! And let's see, Benson says, morning, guys, come on in.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Oh, boy. It's that month.
So, what? It's that month? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's the month of Halloween.
Oh, yes. This is Halloween.
Oh,
this
my
is
goodness.
Halloween.
Oh,
Halloween. Halloween. And this time we come home.
Oh,
Everybody hails the pumpkin song. Wait. Shut up. Now you've distracted me. I started. Oh! She set off the treble. One treble. How did you set it off already? We just started.
I don't know.
You are
I'm
way too
talented.
excited for this early in the morning. That's all I'm
It's
saying.
talent.
Renee says, need to block it so Chris can't see it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea. Then I have no idea what's going on. I like it. You can just run the show. You figure out what all the buttons do.
Well, because that's so glitchy, it doesn't help anyway. I mean, come on, really? It shows that we're frozen.
No, we're moving.
No, up there it shows that we are frozen.
And it just showed me the tribble thing up there.
Oh, see? And here, we're actually moving.
Stop shaking it at me. I feel as if I've been assaulted by your phone.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So,
It's an assault phone. Oh, I had to go there.
sorry. I have a high-capacity magazine that trumps your assault phone. Oh! Two. The tribble has been set off again. It's my high-capacity magazine that I'm assaulting you with.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, we just went there. We're all political today. What are we going to
I
do?
don't want to be political today.
I was just being silly.
Oh.
I don't know what you're talking about,
Oh,
Willis.
my goodness.
Oh, man. Hold on.
I know,
Hold
I
on,
completely
stuff popped.
distracted you.
You did. I don't even know what's happening. Dave says the CDC should study the properties of female hair. Amen to
Oh,
that,
good Lord.
Dave. The ability for that stuff to make its way to places should not be able to get would increase the efficiency of bioterrorism. Amen to that. My God, I have no idea. It weaves itself in and out of fabric like a sewing machine.
It does.
How does that even work, man? It's like... I don't even know. You find that stuff, it's definitely not supposed to be there. Oh, three. 3 tribbles already. Jiminy Cricket. We're only a few minutes in, you still sitting there. That's freaky, man.
Oh.
That is freaky. But yes, Dave is absolutely 100% correct. I think if they could unravel that.
All puns intended?
Yes. If it's probably related to string theory, that's all I'm saying. that doesn't count.
Does not
You
count.
clacked your coffee. That don't count.
I did.
Oh my goodness. Stop it. Stop it. It's trying to mate with the mouse again. Stop it. Look at that.
Oh my.
It's running across the desk. Enough.
Oh.
Jeez. Oh, yeah, that was a cheater one.
Yeah.
All right, so I was going to say, did you read the title this morning?
No, I didn't because you have everything blocked, so I just ignored
You
that.
can read
sidebar.
comments, but you can't read that?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's right there, man. It's right there.
Morning cup of Murph, is it you?
Name that movie.
I have no clue.
I know you don't. You have seen it, though.
I have?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Anybody?
We'll give it a little bit.
I'll give it a little bit. But anyway, say it again.
Morning cup of Murph, is it you? Oh, wait. I think I know.
Oh.
I think-
You want to whisper to me? Oh, man. I am impressed. Oh, we got a triple set up. Triple alert. Gee, man, you already set it off. What are we at? Is that 4?
Yeah, that's 4 now.
Holy hell. Somebody need to keep track of the triple, man. The triple is going insane over there.
Tribbles right there.
I said keep track of the... Oh. Should have. Dave says, Hail Murphy.
Yes.
Murphy. It is Murphy Monday, guys. Hopefully he doesn't bite too hard.
Yeah, no
But
kidding.
he is a part of all of our lives.
Yes. I have to give that. Mm-hmm. I normally don't participate in the whole Hail Murphy if you're new to the show and the channel. But yeah, I do admit that Murphy goes...
Yeah, he does.
And sometimes... whack.
And sometimes...
Pretty much, yeah. So, looks like no one's guessing the movie.
All right, well.
Murph, is it you?
Go ahead, Lois. You actually got it.
I'm surprised I got it, because I've seen that movie like twice. And it's been over 20 years since I've seen it.
One of the best movies ever. Dun, 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 dun,
and that was
dun,
RoboCop.
dun, 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 dun,
But it
dun.
took me a bit, because I was trying to figure out what movie have I seen where there was a character with that name.
Dead or alive, you're coming with me. No? Okay.
So yeah, that was RoboCop.
Yeah.
I'm shocked I got it.
I'm shocked nobody's actually... You know what? Nobody's paying attention.
It's
You're all
Monday.
busy or something.
It's Monday. Everybody's trying to wake up. They're using us for their coffee.
Oh, that's true. Hey, man, I'm feeling the drain here. I'm feeling it.
No.
They're sucking the energy out of us to wake up on Mondays.
Are you sure
Oh, there
that's
went
not
Facebook.
allergies?
Oh, I know, man. Oh, my God. Yeah, like I said, we were doing some yard work over the last couple of days here. And, no. Yeah, I don't even know, man. I don't even know. Is it worse or something out there this year than normal or what? I don't even know.
No, you're just creeping up onto that big 4-0.
Is that what's going on?
That's what's going on. You're on that downhill slide.
Yeah. Wait a minute, what?
Mine started at 35. Yours is gonna really start at 40.
I am not okay with this.
Then, excuse me, talk to your dad.
How come?
He's half the issue.
Oh, it is possible. John says, I have only half a cup down. Give me a minute. All right.
See?
All right, we'll
It's
give
Monday.
We'll give you some. I had a couple of projects. You know what? I'm actually, I am very angry at myself.
Uh-oh.
And partially you. Oh.
Wait a minute. What?
Well, I happened to do a project that I wanted to video, and I didn't video it.
Oh, yeah, and?
What?
Are you upset at me because I didn't remind you to video it?
No, but normally you encourage those kinds of things, and I was just like, I don't know if I should, and then I didn't. And then you didn't encourage me to do it, and so it's your fault.
Well, one of the reasons I've stopped encouraging you doing that is because you've said it takes twice as long.
Well, sometimes more. Than twice
Yeah,
as long.
there you are.
But it was
And
important.
I know this project you wanted to get done.
Yeah. That is part of the issue with trying to do, video tutorials or just stuff, is it takes forever. And then you gotta edit, man. Editing sucks.
So my question is
I still haven't edited my last tutorial video.
well, that would be another reason as to why not to encourage you to do a tutorial at this point.
Yeah.
But anyway, so one of the things though is, okay, if you are editing, why can't you just film the entire process in one or two, however many batteries it takes?
Because you gotta put, there's gotta be camera angles and stuff. That's how that works. I mean, I guess I could just do the whole thing in time-lapse, but that's no fun.
But
The only people that watch time-lapse videos are you.
No.
Of the weird
believe me,
little
no.
crafty projects.
Yeah, no. I'm not the only one.
Well, when it comes to stuff like that, it's better to actually talk about it. I'm just saying, man. Hold on, we got some stuff. Let me catch up. Cece says, LOL, she's right. What?
The fact that it's Monday.
Oh.
Our audience
30 seconds,
is
man.
using us to help increase the caffeine.
I can feel my energy getting sucked out. Renee says, no YouTube. It should be on. I don't know what's going on. There's no YouTube? Who knows, man? Who knows?
Actually, I did not. Oh, no, I got a notification from YouTube.
We should be up.
So, yeah.
I'm showing it. Let's see. She says about that 40.
Okay.
There it is.
Yeah.
All right.
That you're on the downhill roll.
Yeah. Renee says, found it. Oh, she did find it.
Yay.
See, look, I'm all concerned, and she already answered it. Diana says, oh, to be 40 again. No. Creeping up on me, man. So, yeah, I did one project, installed a mini split heat pump.
Yes. It's actually very nice.
It is. It works quite well.
It does. It's quiet.
Oh, my goodness, it is. It's amazing. Amazingly quiet.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun. God, what is... Oh, our internet's going... No, I'm watching it. Right there.
Yeah,
right there.
But see, this is why it needs to be covered, because we are being just fine over here.
Yeah, but that's because there's like a freaking minute lag. No, it just crashed.
No, it's because I was shaking it.
Oh my God, you've got that feature. You shake your phone and it says, "Do you need to report a problem?"
I didn't realize I had that.
You're gonna shake the phone. Let me do it again. I guess if you get mad, I do it. Can you guys see that? No, I can't see it. Oh my gosh, I can't do it again. It says, "Report a problem. Your feedback helps us improve Facebook." Apparently, if you throttle your phone, it says, "Report something isn't working." So I guess it's like banging, the old TVs when they weren't working. Apparently, if you shake your phone, Facebook gets concerned.
Oh my goodness, that's
amazing. That's good. You haven't even set up the Tribble with that. Hell. The Tribble has been desensitized.
Oh my goodness.
That is hilarious, man.
Oh, and Renee's saying she didn't get notified by YouTube.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that sucks.
Diana says, RoboCop. Yes. Dun, 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 dun. Someone's having an emoticon swarm. Woo!
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Although we're only showing 4 actual reactions. How does that anymore, man?
Don't get me started.
So anyway, yes, we got the mini split installed and running, and it's nice.
It is. We're testing it out.
Yes, we've been running a couple of small tests, and once again have confirmed that you are just a frigid individual. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. We're 75 degrees. Cold.
It was blowing directly on me. Really?
Lois.
Ambient temperature is different than direct.
Whatever, man. It was 75 and you were a popsicle. It's freaking ridiculous.
Fine, then trade me couches.
Aha! 5 tribbles, people.
Oh, get that thing out of here.
Let it touch you.
No.
Let the furrball touch you. Wait. Warning, the show is for every purpose only. It's vibrating everywhere. That's what she said. Moving on. Hold on, let me catch up over here. Renee's laughing.
Goodness.
Daddy says, or hit it with a hammer. Hit what with a hammer?
Remember you had mentioned the whole kicking it with the shaking
Oh,
of the
yeah,
phone
with
and hitting the old TV?
Yes. Sometimes that works. It just means you got bad grounding.
30 seconds.
Or loose connection. Shh. Debbie's laughing. John says, Chris and Lois, have you guys always lived in Page? No. Graduated from high school there? Hell no. Or 6. She set off the Tribble again. Or did you recently move? No. She said, sorry, off topic. I'm a bit nosy. No, she is a recent transplant from another part of Arizona.
I was gonna say, be careful of how you're doing this.
Why?
Recent transplant. I have transplanted from several areas.
Yeah. Well, anyway, she's been here for about 3 years, and she came up here because of me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was living in Flagstaff.
I was.
We've actually known each other for like more than a decade.
Yeah, we have.
But she finally moved up here about 3 years ago, and now she's on the city council.
Yeah, and married to you.
Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah.
And you've been here, what, 17 years?
Since the end of 01 or the beginning of 02. So whatever that is, I don't know.
It was 17, 18 years.
Something like that. I came down to Page on purpose because I like four-wheeling in the area. So it's beautiful. And I finally got a boat so I can go play on the lake.
Yes.
It's my puddle pirate. The Opian and Puddle Barge.
Yes.
And high school. Yeah. No.
No, I'm originally from California, Stan.
How'd that work out, right?
I escaped.
Yeah, she escaped California then and started migrating across the great states of Arizona.
I did. I started.
You went from the more communist areas down south slowly this way.
Well, no, I actually started south of Phoenix, migrated all the way down south.
Oh, so yeah, you went farther down. You went into enemy territory.
I went down into Sierra Vista, and then all the way up to Flagstaff, and then over here.
Wasn't there like a Huachuca or something?
Yeah, that's right outside of Sierra Vista.
Oh, I didn't. Okay.
Yeah, I was living in Huachuca City. Somebody drove into my house, and then I moved in Sierra Vista.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she had a car crash into her house. Now he's like, I'm sorry, I asked. You're welcome, John. You're welcome. But
So,
no, hell no, we're not from there.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers your question. Did I miss any? Let's see. Did I miss any? No. Yeah. Alright, I think we got most of that, and he's now regretting his life decisions. John's laughing. Oh! Six little boobs.
Oh my
You
goodness.
set it off again. It is literally crawling across the desk right now. Oh my god. It's pushing stuff over. That thing's kind of freaky, man. So yes, hopefully that answered your question.
No. Yeah, and we've known each other, 13 years, I think, now. Something like that. I'll have to check some of the earlier photos.
Crap. You know what? You're going to be saying that, and then you're going to be like, oh, we need to have an anniversary for when we first met. I'll be like, what was that? I mean, beep. Beep. What? I'm sorry. I should have bleeped it, man. It happens.
Wow!
Warning, this show is for entertainment purposes only. If you have children watching, it is your own problem. Occasionally, I have a slip-up.
Yeah.
A wardrobe malfunction, if you will.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Wow. Oh.
You know what? I'm bringing them out, man.
You're bringing them out? Who is them?
Me, myself, and I. And Peep Lois.
And Peep Lois.
Peep Lois is in costume for Halloween. Because it's freaking October.
Yes.
We went to Walmart the other day.
Uh-oh.
Guess what we found right at Walmart?
Actually, all the stores here in town.
Is it all of them?
It is. It is. The dollar store, Dollar General, and I think I saw some in Safeway.
Are you serious?
Yes.
There's already Christmas decorations out.
Dude, there's 2 freaking holidays between now and Christmas.
I know. What a Halloween and a Thanksgiving.
I just... No. Yes. What are you doing with the Peep Lois?
I don't know. I had to bring it up. It was my censoring device.
And Renee saying 7 tribbles, not 6.
Oh.
One of them we can't count.
Oh, yeah, because she whacked it with a coffee cup.
I did. So
let's see. Oh, John says, okay, sorry, had to ask. Now you know.
No, it's all good. We're sorry. We went off.
Oh, yeah, it was for the 7 tribbles. Yeah. Yeah, one of those she set off with her coffee cup, so it doesn't count. Doesn't count, unfortunately. So, yeah, there's already Christmas crap out.
Yeah. Stop it.
This is Halloween. That's just Halloween. Halloween. Still we go home. Everybody hail to the pumpkin song.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yeah, it's Monday. Instead of Freaky Friday, Manic Monday.
Manic Monday, yeah. I'm having a Manic Monday. I need some more guy. So, yeah, we got that project done, and then, let's see, we cleaned a little bit of the side yard and got some stuff raked, and there was a tumbleweed. What are you laughing at?
No, I'm waiting.
Oh.
There was a tumbleweed.
There was a tumbleweed, and I touched it. Or it touched me. It's itchy.
Yeah, for those of you who are new to the show, Chris is very allergic to tumbleweed.
Yes, but I constantly play with them. I guess I like it. I don't know. Feels like I touch fiberglass. It's like, ah!
I actually discovered that I have the same reaction now.
Yeah. Welcome to my world, Lois. So yeah, I passed the tumbleweed off to her, and then she got itchy.
Yeah.
So apparently we're both now allergic.
And it did. It felt like I had rolled in fiberglass. It's like, wait a minute.
The insulation kind, not the boat kind.
Yeah. I'm waiting to hear the rest of your story before I go off on my little tangent.
Oh, you have a tangent you would like to explore now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
What? Anyway. So we started on that. We got that done. We got the thing installed, and then yesterday, Lois decided to try and do a project.
I thought it was gonna be easy.
There was a tree stump. Yes, and I used the past tense. There was a tree stump that was next to the fence that she thought would be a piece of cake to get out. And me being, I've done many tree stump removals, unfortunately. I happen to know otherwise, and I'm like, you don't want to do that right now, because that's like an all-day project. She said, no, it'll be fine. It was an all-day project. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well,
and she had to call in the big guns.
I did. But the thing is that tree stump had to be removed anyway for the new fence to go in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, rather than doing it once we got all the materials for the new fence and having to finagle around, it just made sense to get rid of it. But I did. I thought it was going to be easy.
Now you know otherwise.
Boy, was I wrong.
I swear to goodness, man, that thing was... its roots went straight down to hell.
The one main root was, what, a good 3-4 inches in circumference?
No, the one that I cut was more like 9.
Oh, there you go. There you are. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was big.
It was.
And it was just dense as all get out, man. I had a sawzall on that thing for how long?
Probably a good 3 or 4 hours total.
Oh, no, not a sawzall. Not 3 or 4 hours. It was more like an hour.
Was it?
Yeah.
It seemed like...
We went through like 4 blades.
Yeah. It was bad.
That thing did not want to come out.
No.
And it was dense. Just dense. It was like cutting through concrete with a sawzall meant for wood. I mean, you should have got a concrete saw. Probably would have went faster. Give me crickets, man. Oh, wow.
It was bad.
Our
it was bad.
No, the internet's at 0.
Yeah, but we're still playing over here.
Well, yeah, but that's a lag. Let's see. Dave says, Chris, you act like Lois. Tangents are not a common thing. This is a good point. Yeah. I don't even know, man. I don't even know, man.
But on a positive note, with all the projects, number one, we got the tree stump out.
Oh, and I was going to go with the tree stumpage. There was lots of digging and dirt and flyingness, and that got even more allergy problems.
Yeah.
Apparently, allergens hide in the dust.
You think?
That was getting kicked up by the sawzall.
You think? You act like this is a new discovery thing.
Yeah. All right. Oh my, that was me.
That was you.
That was me.
That was you.
I hit the dribble with the coffee cup. I do apologize, my furry little friend. Oh my goodness, that thing is...
So, on another note, though, with the whole cleanup on Saturday...
My coffee's cold and tastes like crap. What?
We did discover something about the house that you did not realize was there.
We did?
Yes, we did.
Crap, I forgot already.
Oh, Lord.
Oh,
we
you
found something.
Oh, yeah.
You've lived in this house for how long?
A long time.
And you were not the first owner and all of that. And so over the years...
Yeah, it's definitely not new construction.
No. Over the years, something has disappeared, and you didn't even know it existed until I started looking and wanting to move things around on the side of the house.
Oh, you talking about over there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm confused, man. So, yeah, we found a grounding rod that was actually installed.
That too.
Oh,
okay, so it was 2 things.
All right, now I have no idea.
There was a concrete pad for a set of steps.
Oh, that! Jiminy crickets. Yeah, in the backyard. Oh, there it is. That one was definitely a setup. That would be, is that 7 or 8?
I think so. I think it's 7.
7 or 8, guys. What are we on? The tribble has been set.
Oh, my goodness.
Humping my keyboard. I'm not kidding. It's like...
Oh, goodness. goodness.
But, yeah, so in our backyard, there is a set of steps that have been moved a long time ago.
There was a tree growing through them.
What? They were in the way one time and I moved them and then I forgot to move them back. What? It's not that.
Have you guys ever seen the pictures of, where nature has taken over and things have grown, the tree has grown around and incorporated these objects into them?
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's what it was with the steps.
No, it's talking about. Sorry, she got a wild hair up somewhere, which is, I mean, come on, she's got the woman hair, so we know that happens from time to time. Right?
From time to time.
From time to time.
From time to time.
I
would think it's more.
You have
often.
wild hair up your butt all the time. All right.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, she decided she wanted to move those stairs back to behind the back door.
Yeah, where they belong.
Yeah, well, and so she started
a tree growing.
She started digging just a little, and ended up finding that there was a concrete pad, which I had no idea about, in front of the back door, and it was there for the stairs.
It's the perfect size.
I've been in this house a long time. I had no idea there was a concrete pad over there. It's about 3 inches underneath all the dirt. But we live in Arizona, so the sand and the dirt get blown across, and it got buried. And you found it.
I did. I was trying to figure out how we could level the dirt over there to get the stairs to work, and there's a concrete slab already.
So apparently you didn't have to level the dirt; you just had to clear the pad.
Yep, pretty much.
So now we have stairs at the back door,
where they belong.
What? I appreciate you finding it. That's pretty interesting. Catch up on some comments over here. Renee says, we just wrapped a chain around ours and used the truck to pull them out. We were going to do that, but because of where it wasn't really feasible.
Yeah.
I'd had to remove fencing, 2 fences actually. And then,
no, it wouldn't have worked.
Nope. Now, if it would have had a clear shot, that was my first go-to. I'm like, and I was like, damn, how am I going to get that in here? So, yeah.
I was trying to come up with several things, like using ratchet straps to help yank that thing out.
Yeah. But there's nothing to tie it to.
And the one tree that we do have that we do like, that's in the perfect spot, it wouldn't be able to handle.
Yeah, if we would use that as anchor point, we'd have lost the tree. So
we don't want to do that either.
Renee says, told you the Dribble needs a girlfriend. Yes, I know. It's just running all over my desk.
Yes.
Diana says, Dribble is a wild hair, but won't... Wow. That was amazing. Nicely done. Nicely done.
Nice catch.
Yeah. See what you're trying to do over there. Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Terrible. Oh
Lord.
So yeah, that was our exciting weekend. Although you've been having like the infinite weekend.
I have.
Yeah, which is good for you. She flipped back to the right side up.
For right now, yeah.
She was living upside down for a while.
Yep.
And she's going back to the normal thing, and there's a scheduling and blah, blah, blah. And then, here she is.
For now, we'll see how long it lasts.
When do you go back to work?
Thursday.
Oh, man.
You got Tribble fur in your coffee, didn't you?
No, it's just cold. I was going to take a sip, and then I'm like, if I do that, I might vomit.
Yet he enjoys iced coffee.
But that's because it's intentional. There's a difference, man.
Imagination, man. Just view it as
it's in the wrong kind of cup to be iced coffee.
Lord.
I'm just saying.
Oh, boy.
Anyway.
So what? Well, what do we have going on today and this week?
I'm just going to disappear out of the camera.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No.
Anyway, what do we have going on today? I have no idea. Oh, yeah, you told me and I forgot. Oh, yeah, we have an interview.
Yeah, we have an interview today, and
Oh, yeah, there's a new haircut place in town.
yeah, they're doing a meet and greet tonight.
Tonight? I thought it was today.
I thought it was like 6 to 7 tonight.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, so there's a new haircut place in town.
Yeah,
And
there's.
she's like, hey, and this is how I get stuff here. So she's like, hey, and I'm like, what? And she says, hey, there's a new barber shop opening tonight. And I was like, okay. And she's like, well, since you need a haircut, maybe we should stop by. And I'm like, really? That's how we're gonna play this? I mean, seriously, what the hell? That's not. Hey, there's a cool new business in town. We should go check it out. She's like, there's a new haircut place in town. You should go because you need a haircut.
Honesty. What can I say?
That's just not nice.
Really?
Oh,
really?
stop messing with the dude. Ow.
I can make designs in your
Look
hair.
at that. I just messed it all up. Bam. How's that look?
I even see your cowlicks.
I don't have it. What are you talking about?
Moo is right. See, right there.
Stop
Right
it.
there.
Stop it. Diana says, just chug it.
The coffee.
I
The
know.
cold coffee.
I know. I was going with the other stuff, so I was just trying to pass myself through the zone.
Oh my goodness.
Not good, man. Not good. Anyway, yeah, I can't.
So there's that, and then there's the Parks and Rec Board meeting
crap.
tonight. And
Yay,
Wednesday's
board,
a council meeting.
Kill me now.
But also Wednesday is the fire department's open house.
Ooh, fire department's having an open house. Yeah.
Yeah, that starts at 4.
The kids always love going
yes,
to that.
yes.
Oh,
It's fun. I enjoy going to that.
Yeah, it's cool to hang out. And check
It
out.
is. It is.
They have fun stuff. So. Bless
Yeah.
it, man.
They even have a what was it, a smoky hallway? that
Oh,
you have to
Yeah.
which I think is really cool.
Yeah, that's neat, because then you get to experience it.
Uh-huh.
And it says, maybe 2 hairs cut.
That's good.
Renee says, bedhead, yes.
Yes,
I have. You know, it takes at least 8 hours to get this hairdo.
And he doesn't need to spend $20 on a single product.
Huh?
They
Oh.
have bedhead is an
Yeah,
actual
yeah, I know.
name. Mhm.
I know.
Yeah, there you are.
Shush.
What?
Anyway, so who's excited about a council meeting?
Well, it's going to be an interesting one because we're going to be talking about the housing development again.
Oh,
Oh,
crap.
yeah.
Oh, man, really? Again?
Yeah,
Oh, enjoy.
that's coming back.
So, there's been, 2-3 meetings? 4?
Huh?
For the stupid housing zoning thing, man.
This will be the second one the council has overheard.
No, there's been more than that.
No, that
This
the
is
council.
No, this is the third one for that.
There was the public meeting and the actual conversation about it
Ah, okay.
in one meeting.
You know what? I have lost interest. Anyway, there's a council meeting coming up on Wednesday where there's a zoning stuff and whatever. So, be aware of that. Yeah. That's it. I quit. Anyway, the least favorite part of my job, covering that crap. Yay.
And sometimes it becomes entertaining.
You know what would be entertaining is if we put all of the city council people in gibbets on the front lawn, and then they put rotten fruit out there, and as you walk by City Hall, you could throw it at them. Oh, that would mean you would be up there too, huh?
And I'd come home and rub all over you with all that rotten veggie stank.
Oh, man. I didn't think that one through.
No, you didn't.
Why'd you do it, Lois? Why'd you do it? Oh. Renee has put up, looks like a slug took a poo. I'm not sure what's going on. Oh, it did.
What this?
I don't know. Can you show me this? What is this? It is. It's a slug that took a poo.
That's a little horrifying there, Renee.
Oh, that was another thing we did. We stopped by the Americans Motorcycle Club's
Yes, we did.
Oktoberfest.
Yes.
What days was that? That was
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Was it all 3 days?
It was all 3 days.
And they had some cool stuff out there. That was
Yes.
Yeah, they always have cool games and things.
And you have some information that you need to get out onto the page for them.
Yeah. Who wants to win a motorcycle and support local charity?
Well, it's not necessarily local. It's children's cancer charities.
Oh, right. Okay, fine. I quit.
You can't. It's your freaking company.
Always gotta get nitpicky, man. Anyway, they're doing it's a raffle, right?
Yeah, it's a raffle.
It's a raffle. You can buy tickets for this raffle for a chance to win a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And you wanted to get on?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
And the money goes towards their various charities.
Yes.
The Children's Cancer. Wasn't there something else?
There was another one, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But I know their largest charity is for children's cancer research.
Okay, and then they're like Toys for Tots or something like that.
Oh yes. Yeah. Toys for Tots
Toys
is
for Tots.
another huge one for locally, and that's where a lot of the proceeds are going to go this year.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I do know that a $50 raffle ticket is a hell of a lot cheaper than buying a motorcycle. And since we need to get you a new motorcycle, we're going to go with the raffle and keep our fingers crossed.
Pretty much. And it's a Harley.
Ooh, well, there you go.
So, yeah. It's a very nice bike. And yeah, I know they sent you the information.
Oh, yeah, probably.
We have talked about that. They sent you the information.
This is true. Will you move your crap? I can't even reach my keyboard, man.
Oh, my goodness.
And there's a furry little toad that's on my keyboard again.
Oh, good Lord Almighty.
It's touching it, Lois.
Oh, boy.
It's touching the keyboard.
That's your fault.
No. I'm trying to find my stuff.
I know
There's
you are.
a thing, man.
Oh, my goodness.
God, if this
gracious.
goes any slower. Let's see.
Really?
I'm trying to remember.
Just type in motorcycle.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh, my.
Yeah, no.
No?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
I can't remember.
Oh, wait.
What? Oh, there it is. Oh, my God. There it is. She sent it out. I don't think he sent it from that one, though. No, let's see. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. Yeah, God, the triple went off again. I don't know. We've lost count. Who's keeping track?
I can't remember.
Dave says, oh, here we go. I'm all in for it. Totally support the Americans and their charities. Nice. Dave says, what kind of Harley? Hold on. I'm bringing up a picture.
A hitcher?
Picture. Picture, woman.
See, to me, it sounded like he said hicture.
What the hell is a picture?
I have no idea.
Oh, man, she set it off again, guys.
That's
what are
why
we at?
I was asking.
What are we at?
I think that's 9, maybe.
I don't know. Who's keeping track, man?
I'm not anymore.
All right, there it is. So that is the Harley Davidson that is going for the raffle here. Mm-hmm. It says, make this bike yours for $50.
Yep.
Or at least you get the chance for it.
Right. It's $50 per ticket, and it's either 200 or 250 tickets that will be sold. Yeah. So 250 tickets are going to be sold, and that's it. And
then, what is it, February or something?
What it is, it's if they sell all 250 tickets, or sometime in February, there's a specific date. That is when the drawing will happen, whichever comes first.
Oh, okay. So there you go. And then, so it's got some stuff that I have to read here. Let's see. Well, I don't have to read it, but I would like to.
You should read it.
I'm going to. Let's see. Here's how you get it. The Americans Motorcycle Club is going to give this customized 1983 Harley Davidson Super Glide motorcycle to one lucky person. But you have to buy a ticket to win it. Proceeds will benefit the Strike Against Cancer program and other charitable endeavors locally in the greater Lake Powell area. See reverse side for more information.
I can't believe you just read that.
I know. Shut up, man. I'm still waking up. You behave yourself. There's some other pictures I'm going to pull up, too. Renee says, 9 triples. Renee says, it's a shovel head. Oh, There you go. And Renee says 10 dribbles. And Renee says February 28th.
Yes, Renee is definitely the spokesperson of this. It's an 83 Harley Davidson FXE Super Glide and customized.
Hold on, I'm working on pulling up some pictures here of they've got some different shots.
I'm looking for There
we go.
It has a custom paint job, Shinko tires, reverse forks, PM front brake, trade winds headlamp, added chrome, billet forward controls, 12-inch apes on 4-inch risers, chrome front brake master and clutch lever assemblies, S&S Super E carburetor, dual plug heads, secret cam grind, dual exhaust with built-in mufflers, ratchet top 4-speed transmission, chain drive with 51 tooth gearing, OE style banana caliper brake, custom fenders, left side mounted tail and brake with plate holder, OE Super Glide fuel tank, and anti-theft electrical wiring.
And much more.
Yes.
Oh, and at the bottom it says it's a shovel head, just like Renee was saying. So, there you go.
I was leaving that part out because Renee already said it.
Well, yeah, but Renee says, sorry, not shovel. But it says right there, shovel. Shovel head.
It is a shovel head.
Yeah, it says it right there on the flyer. I was there. Here, I will show you. We will scroll it down. See right there. Look at that. Bam. It's a shovel head. I don't even know, man. I don't even know. So anyway, if you guys want that, let's see. Oh, if they have a rules and stuff section. Let's see. Only 250 tickets. No additional tickets are being printed. They're numbered sequentially, 1 to 250. $50 each. The drawing will conclude when the last ticket. All right. So where do we go to get them?
How to get a ticket.
Oh, it's right there. Look at that. It's right there. How to get a ticket at authorized locations. KC any member of the Americans MC and ask for a raffle ticket. Okay.
I think the K is a typo.
Okay. See any member of the Americans Motorcycle Club and ask for a raffle ticket, or you can call 760-554-0567. Pause and rewind if you'd like to hear that again.
I'm wondering what the authorized locations are.
I have no idea.
Except for Limeys.
I was going to say Limeys. I know that one. Right?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm more than positive Limeys is definitely an authorized location.
I'm going with yes.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Dave says, it shall be mine. Shut up and take my money now. That's awesome, Dave. That is awesome. Harlan says, Paige Balloon Landing and Balloon Fiesta Park on TV. Cool.
Nice.
Awesome, Harlan. Apparently something is all right. Anyway, Renee says, stop by the shop for tickets. Right.
There you are.
So Limey's Cycle Shop down on Hull Road.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, apparently Dave is very excited and he is going to steal all your tickets. Hopefully purchase them for charity.
I was going to say, I think he's going to buy all of it.
He might. I don't know.
I'm going to buy at least one.
Yeah. I wonder how many is left.
I don't know. I do not know. But yeah, I had the opportunity while we were out there. They had the bike out there at the Oktoberfest, and they had it out on a trailer, nice and ratcheted down, and I was able to sit on it, and it felt really nice.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
You liked it.
I did.
She does need a new motorcycle.
I do.
Like I sold my Jeep. She sold her motorcycle. And we had to do a lot of stuff for you guys out there. Oh, man.
But we love you guys.
Yes, we do.
We really do. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot. We'll see what happens.
She's gonna give it another shot.
No, I meant the raffle.
I know.
I meant the raffle, man.
I was doing the Robin Hood Men in Tights, man.
Oh Lord.
Gotta read the script. He's called another shot.
Oh my.
No, come on.
Oh my.
Work
I
with me
now
here.
remember that scene. Oh Lord.
We're men, manly men,
Oh,
men tides. We roam around the forest looking for fights. No?
oh boy.
What?
Oh,
love that
that's
movie.
horrifying.
It cracks me up.
I know you do. I know you do.
So everybody go down and buy a raffle ticket. Whether
Yes.
you want a motorcycle or not, you're still supporting a good cause.
Yes, you are. You are.
And
these-
Limey's Cycle Service obviously is a member of the network.
Yes,
and
they
remember, you're either a member of the network or an enemy of the network. Just putting that out there. What? We talked about that one on, what was it, Friday?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so.
So, we like the
Actually, yeah, we
Oktoberfest.
did. Yes, we do like the Oktoberfest. We just got so wrapped up into
I know.
catching up on stuff at the house.
I was going to say, we was installing the thingamabob and digging the doodah, and then there was the...
Digging out the doodah.
Digging out our doodah. It was messy, man. And then we went out to go, what was it? We went to go get something to finish what we were working on, and you're like, oh, hey, there's a thing. And I was like, oh, yeah. And so we stopped and we went, and they had cool stuff.
Yeah, they did. They did.
They had a bunch of patches you wanted to buy, too.
They did. Oh, I just,
What?
yeah. I would need like 20 different vests and stuff for all the patches I like.
Renee says, we prefer if you pay for the tickets. Limey is headed down now to handle the waves of people that want tickets. And the bike will be on display so you can check it out.
Nice.
Dave, check it out, man. You can go poke at it. You actually get the thing and get it back. Hey, check it out. I don't know, man. My brain ain't working over.
Oh, no.
11 triples. She set it off 11 times.
And Scott is saying, morning, y'all. Better
Oh.
late than never.
This is true, although we're getting ready to wrap it
Yeah,
up.
we
only
are.
got another minute left, guys. So anyway, get your flaming butts down to Limey's and go buy yourself a raffle ticket. A chance to win a motorcycle and a chance to support children.
Yeah,
if you
and
don't
they're
buy
really good.
if you don't buy a ticket, you hate children. What? I was using their tactics because that's what they do.
Whose?
Oh, you want to know
Not
who?
Limey's.
No.
Not the Americans.
The
They don't
leftists.
use those
I'm
tactics.
using this. I'm using the leftist tactics, you see. If you don't do something that I tell you to do, that means you hate children. See? I don't know. Anyway, we love you
obviously
guys.
haven't seen
Thank
the
you so
latest.
much for... What are they doing now? Do I want to know?
I'll tell you after we're done.
Anyway, go buy a raffle ticket. Helps... Oh, 12. 12. 12 triples, Lois. You guys have an amazing day. Go get a ticket, and we'll catch you on the next one.
And before we take off, thank you, Page Hospital, for
sponsoring the
us.
show. Yes. Don't forget to check it out right there.
Yeah.
And there is a post on the main Facebook page where you can learn more information.
Yes, for Prop 431.
So yeah, big shout out to the Page Hospital for sponsoring the Morning Cup.
Yes, thank you.
Of course, they're probably regretting that decision about now. Oh, 13. There is a way to end the show. 13 tribbles, everybody. It's a 13 tribble show.
Oh my goodness.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Oh, 14 tribbles. Oh, my God.